So today, we've got to break down an absolutely mind-blowing football match, a Carabao Cup game that people are already calling one of the biggest upsets in the entire history of the competition. It is a wild story of insane odds, non-stop drama, and a final result that, honestly, nobody saw coming. And look, to really wrap your head around the scale of this upset, you've got to start right here with the money. I mean, this chart says it all, doesn't it? The gap is just staggering. You've got Grimsby, a squad valued in the low millions, up against the global powerhouse of Manchester United, worth hundreds and hundreds of millions. It is the definition of David versus Goliath. Okay, so we head into the first half, and you're thinking the Giant is just going to roll over them, right? Well, that is not what happened. Not even close. From the opening whistle, it was Grimsby who came out absolutely on fire. They weren't sitting back, they were taking the game to United, putting that star-studded defense under some serious pressure. Right away, you knew this was not going to be some walk in the park for the favorites. And all that early pressure, it paid off in a huge way. About midway through the half, Charles Vernam gets a bit of space and boom, slots it home for the opener. And then, literally minutes later, before United even knew what hit them, Grimsby did it again. It was this incredible 1-2 punch that left the Premier League side completely and utterly stunned. And if you want a little bit of extra drama, here's a fantastic twist for you. The guy who scored that second goal, Tyrell Warren, he actually came up through Manchester United's own academy. After a total scramble in the box, he has the composure to just walk the ball into the net against his old club. I mean, you couldn't write a better story. So the halftime whistle blows, and the Giants from Manchester are down 2-0 to a team from a lower division. They looked completely lost, totally out of sorts, and their keeper, Andre Onana, he was at fault for both goals, especially the second one, which came from a really poor punch. It was just a disastrous first half for them. All right, so we're into the second half, and for Manchester United, this is a full-on nightmare. Their manager, Ruben Amorim, knew he had to do something drastic. So he makes 3 big substitutions right at the break, throwing on some of his biggest stars in a pretty desperate bid to salvage the game and avoid what would be a truly humiliating loss. And you know what? Those changes, they did eventually start to work. It all built up to this incredibly frantic finish. United started to control the game, and then, with only about 15 minutes left on the clock, they finally got a goal back. Then, with time just ticking away, they somehow managed to find an equalizer. So that first goal, their lifeline, it came from their new signing, Brian Burmomo. It was a great shot from the edge of the area, and it was his very first goal for the club. Suddenly, there was a glimmer of hope for United, and it set up an unbelievably tense final quarter of an hour. United just threw everyone and everything forward, and with only 2 minutes of regular time to go, a very unlikely hero stepped up. Defender Harry Maguire gets up highest on a corner kick and heads in a dramatic, last-gasp equalizer. Unbelievably, this game was now heading to a penalty shootout. So, after that absolute roller coaster of a match, the drama was far from over. Nope, it all came down to the ultimate test of nerve. A penalty shootout. This is where legends are made, where heroes and villains are decided. It was a test of pure skill, pure bottle, and just a fittingly chaotic end to an incredible game. I mean, just try to imagine the pressure in this moment. You've got Grimsby, who've put in the performance of their lives. You've got United, who have just clawed their way back from total humiliation. It all comes down to this. And the only question on anyone's mind was, who's going to hold their nerve? The shootout was nail-biting right from the start, but then it looked like United had it. In sudden death, Andre Onana, who had a really rough game, pulls off a huge save. It felt like the comeback was finally complete. The Premier League side was gonna escape after all. But hold on, the drama just kept coming. With a penalty to win the whole thing, Manchester United's Matheus Cunha stepped up, and Grimsby's keeper, Christy Pime, makes a magnificent save to keep his team alive. The stadium just erupted. Grimsby was still in the fight. And this is where things just get kind of wild. The shootout went on for so long, the quality of the penalties was just off the charts. It got to the point where even both goalkeepers had to step up and take a kick. And what do you know? They both scored. They actually had to start the order of takers all over again. And then, after that unbelievable string of perfect penalties, the moment finally came. Brian Mbeumo, who had scored for United earlier, stepped up for his second penalty of the shootout, and this time, his shot crashed back off the crossbar.
It was pure heartbreak for United and absolute ecstasy for Grimsby.
So there it is, the final score. After that marathon of a shootout, Grimsby Town beats Manchester United 12-11 on penalties. Just let that number sink in. An absolutely staggering result that sealed one of the most memorable nights in the history of the Cup.
So, what happens now? What's the fallout from a result like this? Well, for Grimsby, it's a legendary night, one they'll talk about for generations. But for Manchester United, it is a deeply, deeply embarrassing defeat that comes with some pretty serious consequences.
You know, when you really look back on it, the match was a tale of two goalkeepers. On one side, Grimsby's Christy Pym was an absolute hero. He was composed and he made that massive save in the shootout. On the other side, United's Andre Onana was at fault for both goals in the match and just couldn't be the hero when it really mattered. And for United, this isn't just a single bad result. The consequences are immediate. It piles a ton of pressure on their manager Ruben Amorim, and it means the team is now winless in 3 games. Plus, with no European football this year, the Carabao Cup was a real key target for a trophy, and now that's gone. You don't even have to take my word for it. The manager himself was brutally honest after the game, admitting that the performance spoke really loud and that something has to change. Well, that's a pretty stark admission of just how bad his team was and the serious trouble they're now in.
So there you have it, a true giant killing, a classic underdog story where they triumphed against absolutely everything, and a result that sends massive shockwaves through English football. It really just leaves us with one last big question. Where does this rank among the greatest cup upsets of all time?